show. This is the time when you grab your mugs and drink that freshly brewed coffee as we welcome our first guest for today, Mr. Eddie Batis. Hello, Mr. Eddie. Welcome to the early show. How are you feeling today? We've heard your tremendous success in the field of happiness and contentment. We also love the book you wrote about it. How did you get this far, Mr. Eddie?
Well, it's a long story, but it started when I was an infant. I could still remember those eyes I had when I did not trust my father. I wasn't sure if he was my dad. But one night, when I had a terrible nightmare, everything changed. Mistrust turned into trust.
Trust versus mistrust. During this stage, the infant is uncertain about the world in which they live. To resolve these feelings of uncertainty, the infant looks towards their primary caregiver for stability and consistency of care. If the care the infant receives is consistent, predictable, and reliable, they will develop a sense of trust which will carry with them to other relationships, and they will be able to feel secure even when threatened.
So when you were still that young, you developed the trust to your parents?
Yes, and it all began there. After developing that trust, as I grew up, I even got better little by little. Through the simplest things my parents taught me, I couldn't forget the time when I learned how to tie my shoes. I'm glad that they supported me well in doing that, developed my autonomously.
Autonomy versus shame and doubt. The child is discovering that he or she has many skills and abilities, such as putting on clothes and shoes, playing with toys, and others. Such skills illustrate the child's growing sense of independence and autonomy. Erickson states it is critical that parents allow their children to explore the limits of their abilities within an encouraging environment which is tolerant of failure. For example, rather than put on a child's clothes, a supportive parent should have the patience to allow the child to try until they succeed or ask for assistance.
That girl is a real crowd, please. Small world, all her friends know of me. Young bull living.
Wow, Mr. Eddie, you really had some stages there. So you mean to say, without the assistance and the support of your parents, you couldn't have been here?
That's true. It's one of the best things to have them by your side. Parents really have an influence to the stages of the development of a person.
We talk about your family and all that, so now let's discover how we made friends.
That's one of the funniest stages I've been through. I had struggles in making friends, but I got out of the problem, fortunately.
Initiative versus guilt. Children begin to plan activities, make up games, and initiate activities with others. If given this opportunity, children develop a sense of initiative and feel secure in their ability to lead others and make decisions. Conversely, if this tendency is stopped, children develop a sense of guilt. They may feel like a nuisance to others and will therefore remain followers, lacking in self-initiative. Too much guilt can make the child slow to interact with others and may inhibit their creativity.
Wow! I know we've all been through that, but the fact that you passed through this stage is so satisfying.
Friends were there already. This time, I had to struggle in school. I was so bad at solving math problems that time. But thanks to my teachers and to my tutors who were there to guide me through my school days. Now, I am proud of my accomplishments and I've never felt so industrious.
Children are at the stage where they will be learning to read and write, to do sums, to do things on their own. Teachers begin to take an important role in the child's life as they teach the child specific skills. If children are encouraged and reinforced for their initiative, they begin to feel industrious and feel confident in their ability to achieve goals. If this initiative is not encouraged, if it is restricted by parents or a teacher, then the child begins to feel inferior, doubting his own abilities, and therefore may not reach his or her potential.
Wow, Mr. Eddie! Now I can see the accomplishments you have done before this interview.
It was obviously a matter of who you are with, how they stand as foundation to your life. Trust, autonomy, initiative, and industry. Those were just the first things I've developed until I reached my adolescence, where I had role confusions.
Identity versus role confusion. This is a major stage in development where the child has to learn the roles he will occupy as an adult. It is during this stage that the adolescent will re-examine his identity and try to find out exactly who he or she is. Erikson suggests that two identities are involved, the sexual and the occupational. Erikson claims that the adolescent may feel uncomfortable about their body for a while until they can adapt and grow into the changes.
So you were struggling with your occupational and sexual being at that time?
Yes, I was. I was confused on who I really want to be when I grow up. And by that time, I made a lot of things or changes to myself. I made an image. The image I want to show to everyone that this me and this is how I accept myself.
Wow, Mr. Eddie! At this point, I became a bit more interested on what happened next after that unforgettable change.
The next is a roller coaster. Love. I isolated myself in this stage after a breakup with my first love until I found the one who brought me out of the cage and bring back the light again.
Intimacy versus isolation. We explore relationships leading toward longer-term commitments with someone other than a family member. Successful completion of this stage can lead to comfortable relationships and a sense of commitment, safety, and care within a relationship. Avoiding intimacy, fearing commitment, and relationships can lead to isolation, loneliness, and sometimes depression. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of love.
After growing up with my family, this moment I had created my own. 2 kids and a lovely wife. I, as a father, have to support them in their stages of development. Yet, there was a time when I got fired out of the company I was working. I became stagnant on how I could continue surviving with them.
Generativity versus stagnation. During middle adulthood, we establish our careers, settle down with a relationship, begin our own families, and develop a sense of being part of the bigger picture. We give back to the society through raising our children, being productive at work, and becoming involved in community activities and organizations. By failing to achieve these objectives, we become stagnant and feel unproductive. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of care.
I felt depressed because I had nothing to give to my family but hope. Without faith, I continued standing for them until I found that fire. It was more than the job. It was about my family and the purpose I have within it.
Wow, Mr. Eddie, so touching. I believe that it is in this printing press company where you got inspired to write this book.
It is. I worked most of my life in this company and I did not expect to write all of these things in honor of the success and happiness I've been through since I was a baby.
Integrity versus despair. As we grow older and become senior citizens, we tend to slow down our productivity and explore life as a retired person. It is during this time that we contemplate our accomplishments and are able to develop integrity if we see ourselves leading a successful life. Erik Erikson believed if we see our lives as unproductive, feel guilt about our past, or feel that we did not accomplish our life goals, we become dissatisfied with life and develop despair, often leading to depression and hopelessness. Success in this stage will lead to the virtue of wisdom. Wisdom enables a person to look back in their life with a sense of closure and completeness, and also accept death without fear.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Eddie Batis, yes, to tell the public of Do It All. See you next time in Early Show. Bye!